Okay, Mike, I was watching that Stephan Molyneux debate and on anarchism, basically, and they said a lot of things. He said a lot of things in there that just plain don't make sense to me. And I know that you're not an anarchist, so let me throw some of my questions at you and see what you think about it. One of the things he said is property rights are absolute. Oh, has he never been robbed or?
Yeah, that's a false premise. I mean, we want property rights to be unalienable, if you will, like the founders, where they're not subject to conditions, if you will. You own them; they're yours. But to say that they can't be violated is just a physical impossibility, because that's actually the reason why we need government, because people will violate people's property rights.
Yeah, like you said earlier, if God had said property rights or...
Yeah, what I said was basically if God had laid it out that people's rights could not be violated, that was how the arrangement was made, that was how the natural law was, then of course you would not need government.
So we'd be anarchists.
We would be anarchists then, but in the sense that it would be still controlled, because it's controlled or governed by the rules of nature.
Another thing is he said the initiation of force is always very bad.
Well, that's a matter of opinion, actually. And so if you don't agree with that premise, then I guess you couldn't be an anarchist, because I say those are false premises, that the initiation of force is always very bad. And define force. Spanking a child is force. Okay? And you can say, well, a child ran in the street, so that's not force by giving them a spanking. Well, it still is force. So, and sometimes the initiation of force might be you survive or they survive, and the choice is there, and you can see the two minds working, and the guy that's opposing you says, I'm going to strike you because I need to survive for whatever reason it might be, and you initiate force at that point. So force is always bad according to probably who's been hurt by it.
Yeah. And rights are inviolable.
Yeah, that's
kind of like the one we just went over.
Yeah, and that's a nice tongue twister too.
Yeah.
Rights can be violated, and that's actually why we do need government, because people's rights do get violated, and government sorts it all out, if you will.
Now he calls people who libertarians, basically, he calls them mini anarchists, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I think what they do, anarchists consider themselves libertarians, voluntarists, and other libertarians who believe in minimal government. They like to call those people mini anarchists. But it's kind of a ridiculous term if you think about it. If an anarchist believes in no government, then what would be a mini anarchist? A mini person that doesn't believe in any government. And constitutional government type libertarians, you can't classify them as mini anarchists.
Now he stated that anarchists realize the potential of evil in man, and that is the reason they oppose a monopoly of legal violence in society. That makes no sense to me.
Right, and of course, the idea, and he's talking about government being the legal monopoly there, and the system was never set up for government to be a monopoly of, say, the use of force. We were always retained our right to use force in defense of our life, liberty, and property. So government being a monopoly of the use of force was never the way the system was supposed to be set up. So that's another false premise.
Yeah, and he further stated that humans like to maximize themselves at the expense of others.
That's right. And because they do, is the sole reason that we need government.
Yeah.
So his theory is that because government has this monopoly, then you don't want And humans will do what we just agreed that they would do, maximize their efforts to take advantage of other people. He's saying, well, you don't want to have government because they will reside in that vehicle, and he considers that government is a monopoly of force, and that's the reason why you should.
So it seems like anybody that wants to be a controller, getting into government would be a good place to do it.
Typically, that's where your controllers go, and the people who are not controllers stay away from it, and I think that's a vital error.
Yeah. Of course, he says government is a terrible resource to do that, to protect us. But
well, to protect us, it's and that's another falsehood that some people believe, that government's purpose is to protect us, and it's not. Its purpose is to protect our rights, and it doesn't do it by positive actions. It does it by enforcing the negative. In other words, if somebody violates somebody else, then we've delegated to government the power to reciprocity, if you will. To, okay, there's a violation here, government, do something about this violation.
Yeah. Then he goes on, human beings like to get things for free. He's just talking about the human condition here, as well.
Right.
Like we all know the human condition.
Right.